Take control of the numbers and supercharge your small business with Xero. That's Xero. With our easy-to-use accounting software with automation and reporting features, you'll spend less time on manual tasks and more time understanding how your business is doing. 87% of surveyed U.S. customers agree Xero helps improve financial visibility. Search Xero with an X or visit Xero.com/ACAST to start your 30-day free trial. Conditions apply.
Extra value meals are back. For just $5, get a savory and sweet sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles, plus hash browns and a coffee. Only at McDonald's.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
This is Auditory Anthology, a podcast featuring the best sci-fi short fiction. I'm your curator, Keith Conrad. We release new stories every Tuesday and Thursday. If you like what you hear, I hope you'll take the time to rate and review our show on your podcast player of choice. And be sure to recommend it to a friend. That'll help us grow the podcast and continue to share these stories with you each and every week. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you'll help keep the stories coming. You'll also get every episode completely commercial-free, and you can now vote on what story will feature in the upcoming episodes. This week's story is Space Lane of No Return by George A. Whittington. When a couple rookie interplanetary patrol officers encounter a legendary pirate, they realize their mundane asteroid fishing equipment holds the secret to defeating the outlaw.
There are millions of podcasts out there, and you've chosen this one. Whether you're a regular or just here on a whim, it's what you have chosen to listen to. With Yoto, your kids can have the same choice. Yoto is a screen-free, ad-free audio player. With hundreds of Yoto cards, there are stories, music, and podcasts like this one, but for kids. Just slot a card into the player and let the adventure begin. Check out yotoplay.com.
Streaming is changing the way we watch live sports. And your internet connection can be the difference between catching the game-winning touchdown as it happens or hearing about it from your neighbor's cheers. That's why Comcast is building the network of the future. Using cutting-edge AI and edge computing technology, we're bringing fans closer to the action in stunning high definition with ultra-low latency. It's not just fast, it's game-changing. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.
Asteroid fishing was no job for men who joined the Interplanetary Patrol with the lure of distant space frontiers in their heart, Norb Holber told himself bitterly. Your two-man patrol ship hung less than 20 degrees off the ecliptic, with sharp, hard starlight from the spangled jet mantle of space glinting against the top and sides of its maroon plastic hull. Below, the asteroids rushed through their mad orbits like the vengeful ghosts of shattered planets and satellites. Smaller fragments danced through weird paths above the main body. They were the hazard that forced spaceliners to arc far above the impassable belt on the run between Jupiter's moons and the inner planets. And since you were a fledgling patrol officer, fresh from Federation University, you wasted the energy that boiled in your blood hunting these fragments, yanking them out of space. "It's fun," Mike Doran admitted, as though reading his partner's thought, "like shark fishing, but it's not what I joined the patrol to do." Norb Holber's answering smile softened the strength a firm chin and thin, straight nose gave to his long, oval face. "More like minesweeping in ancient times, Mike," he said quietly, as though the dispassionate menace of the inanimate chunks of matter they hunted could answer the call for high adventure. "One of those things could make a wreck of this ship, as easily as it could a liner." Against that possibility they wore spacesuits, and, under his transparent helmet, Nord's gray eyes swept the side-view screens for any fragments they'd missed on the way down. Mike was at the drive controls, his gaze on the lower screen, watching their prey, an ugly, angular mass hardly larger than a man's head, 200 feet below. "Okay," Mike said, his big mouth curving in a wry smile, "let's go with the hook." Nord pressed 2 control studs before him. Their ship was standard except for the little bay that now opened aft, the heavy electromagnetic that shot downward under tiny automatic jets, and the power-driven winch that paid out flexible, heavily insulated cable to hold the magnet captive and carry the current. "Sunspot," Nord said, as the magnet struck the little asteroid fragment squarely and clung. "There's always enough paramagnetic stuff in them," his partner commented bitterly. "That's what makes this blasted assignment possible." His blue eyes brightened. "That's one more toward a full cargo, a trip back to Mars base and some planet leave. Hope I don't dream about these dirty rocks." The brightness hardened in his eyes as they dropped to the asteroid belt below. "I'll start hunting another one," Nord said warily. "You haul this one in." He took Mike's chair before the drive controls, and his long fingers made deft, swift adjustments. Their little ship nosed upward toward a safer cruising area. The other jabbed the winch control studs. The winch began to turn again, drawing the cable taut. Their ship lurched momentarily as the cable tugged against the orbital inertia of the little mass at the end of the magnet, but winch and ship were built for the struggle, and the asteroid fragment swung from its course, starting upward on the magnet. Now Mike stores it away in the outer hull with the rest, Nord thought glumly, and the whole weary routine starts over again. 3 days it took to find this last one. 3 days of monotonous search just above the belt. He forced his slim, wiry body erect and straightened his shoulders. "They're getting scarcer, Mike. Before long, the System Federation can lower the safe traffic lanes down to here. That's the closest to the belt that'll ever be practical. Maybe the next batch of Patrol College grads will get a different initiation." "Sure," grumbled Mike, watching the ascending magnet. "Maybe the Federation will have the Patrol go all out after that pirate Kadeen. He's got the only ship in space that can navigate the asteroid belt. Get his secret, and liners can go right through the belt without bothering about asteroids or fragments. If they'd tried that before, Nord, we wouldn't waste our patrol career with this blasted asteroid fishing." "The secret's in the steel hull of his ship," Holber agreed, firm jaw tightening. Dane Kadeen, he remembered, had been a brilliant physicist before he turned to space piracy. Now his ship, the only steel-hulled vessel in an age of plastics, operated from a base deep within the asteroid belt itself, sailing untouched where other daring craft had been battered to wreckage. "We can't go in after him," Nord added, "and he picks his own time and place to come out. But—" The visiphone on the instrument panel before him jangled a sudden warning. His gray eyes widened. A glowing disk indicated general communications wavelength, but the jangling meant a rider that stamped the communication urgent. He snapped the instrument on and tuned in the length. The screen glowed and blurred, vague images appeared. Broken, unintelligible words poured out. Mike Doran glared at the instrument savagely and glanced quickly to the lower view screen. The asteroid fragment was still a few feet below. "Static from the cable," he growled. Wait, we don't want to lose this thing." "That's a patrol officer on the screen," Holber said doubtfully and smiled. "But I can't make out enough to tell his rank, so it's not insubordination if we wait." The current flowing through the cable to the magnet was the same high frequency used in the ship itself. There was no space in a compact patrol vessel for unnecessary converters. But inside, the current was screened against interference with visiphone reception, while outside, pulsing through the cable, it set up an interference field. In a matter of seconds, the magnet and his captive were inside the hull, and the bay doors closed. Mike jabbed off the magnetizing current, and the two heard the heartening thump of the asteroid fragments against the outer hull. They heard, too, the voice from the visiphone, suddenly clear and imperative against the still jangling alarm. "Kadeen! Repeating!" Mike's jaw dropped. "Ring a Saturn, talk about the devil!" On the visiphone screen was a colonel on the Interplanetary Patrol. Behind him could be seen a spacious control room, the nerve center of a luxury space liner. The colonel's square, rugged face was white with anger. His words were clipped. "Repeating, all patrol ships in vicinity of Space Lane 6, be on the lookout for Dane Kadeen. He's halted and robbed Earthliner Jovian Nymph." The words swept the weariness from Nord's face and brought flame leaping from the depths of his gray eyes. Space Lane 6 was almost directly above their position. He saw Mike's features light with eagerness. Dane Kadeen had struck out from the wild belt that was his impregnable stronghold, and now Nord Holber and Mike Darren, hugging the upper fringe of the belt, were between the outlaw and safety. "It's our chance!" Mike shouted. "Promotion! The end of this rookie fishing business! If we get him, we—" In the visiphone, the colonel went on, his voice bitter with chagrin. "Valuable scientific documents have been taken under threat of destruction to an unarmed passenger ship. Kadeen, traveling in direction of the Eos family. Imperative that the patrol intercept and destroy Dane Kadeen." He paused and added grimly, "Jovian nymph, standing by." Mike Darren whistled. "Must be some important papers. Why weren't they sent by patrol ship then?" Nord's eyes were speculative. "The patrol's busy off Jupiter's moons. There's trouble brewing with the underground Jovian League trying to agitate the moons out of the System Federation. It's ticklish business, Mike. Dynamite, in fact, with the System Congress expecting violence. Kadeen's supposed to be in that business up to his ears, so somebody thought that he'd be too busy to intercept a liner." The other nodded. "So they send a patrol officer with the papers on a regular liner, and Jovian League spies tip off Kadeen to come down from Jupiter and intercept them over the belt, where he can jump to safety into the asteroids." Nord was already searching the view screens. "Better get below and stow that fragment away, Mike," he ordered, quietly asserting his nominal command for the first time since the two started their initial assignment. "And check pressure in your suit oxygen tank. The Eos family is right below us in the belt, and this is where Kadeen's heading." His partner grinned. "Yes, sir!" He clambered through the inner airlock and squirmed through the narrow space between the hulls. His voice came back over the suit communication unit. "Aren't you going to acknowledge the orders?" "That'd warn Kadeen," Holber told him. His lips curved in a tight smile that did not soften the long oval of his face. "The colonel knows we've begun fishing this section of the belt, but Kadeen may have been too busy over by Jupiter's moons to keep track of the little details like that." Darren came back into the cabin. "Doubt if the Jovian League spies keep track of routine assignments of rookie patrol officers," he agreed. "What's our move?" "We wait." Nord's gray eyes flicked over the top and rear view screens. "Kadeen should come from above and behind. We'll let him overtake us. That way we'll stay between him and the belt and make him fight." "He won't get by this heat ray," Mike promised savagely. His big hands went over the ray tube controls experimentally, and he grinned as he swung the sights across the rear sector. "I'm sick of playing with asteroid fragments." Holber didn't move his eyes from the rear screen. A faint distant flicker of red splashed against the deep black space behind them. The pinpoint of flame pulsed steadily among the cold stars. It was the rocket wash of a ship far below the space lanes, a ship too black to be visible against its sable backdrop. "Here he comes," Mike said tensely. "He's seen us by now." Nord's long fingers brought retarding jets flaming into brief life. Their speed slackened. In the rear screen, the wash of the other ship swelled suddenly, and the outline of its dark hull cut a silhouette across the dying radiance of exhaust gases. It was Kadeen's ship. In it was the secret of safe passage through the asteroid belt, a secret that would open a space lane for System Federation ships, give science access to the guarded secrets of the mysterious asteroids. In it, too, were the papers which had brought the outlaw back from Jupiter's moons, gambling possible success there to wrest from the Federation itself scientific knowledge that might assure a pirate coup against interplanetary civilization. Dane Kadeen, whose cunning and skill were legendary, had never hesitated in battle. He did not hesitate now. The black hull of his ship loomed in the view screen, and a slender, dazzling pencil of white darted forth. A heat ray stopped down to its most penetrating beam, concentrating the maximum fiery energy into a tiny area of searing destruction. Nord whipped their vulnerable plastic hull aside, and the beam flared harmlessly in the view screens as it lashed past, spending its fury against cold space. Nord threw the drive control lever forward to the last notch. The patrol ship surged ahead, matching the speed of Kadeen's vessel, blocking the outlaw from the safety of the asteroids below. "That guy doesn't fool around," Mike Darren said hoarsely. His big hands were busy as the ray tube's crosshairs shifted in the rear view screen. "Neither do I," he added savagely. "Sunspot!" Holber cried. "You hit him, Mike!" The thin heat ray danced into the dark hull, drew a spreading circle of dark, sullen red. Kadeen's side jets flared. "Stay with him, Mike," Nord ordered calmly. "That steel hull will take a lot of heat before you do any damage." Darren sent his beam lashing after Cadine's dancing ship, against which the circle of red faded, then glowed once more as the merciless heat found the spot again. Holber's gray eyes blazed, and his long fingers wove their swift movements into a smooth pattern on the drive levers, following like a dance partner the wild dartings of the outlaw ship. For a few arrested seconds, Cadine's ray tube was cold as he turned all his frenzied attention to the drive. Vainly, he spun and twisted. Mike Darren, grinning savagely, traced every desperate motion with the fiery pencil of his heat ray. He can't get past, and he can't turn back. He's gotta keep coming. As though in silent agreement, Cadine whipped his ship out of its gyrations and drove a straight course toward the stern of the patrol fighter. In the split second it took Nord to react, the pirate drew closer. His black hull blocked out the stars behind, filled the rear screen. In the steel nose, the red spot flared brighter, rising toward the white heat that meant disaster. And the view screen was suddenly an incandescent patch of unbearable brilliance that burned all vision from Nord Holber's brain, brought his eyelids down instinctively over throbbing eyes. He reeled in his seat, head spinning, stomach writhing, and realization more sickening than physical agony in his mind. Cadine had blinded them with a blast of his retarding jets. It was an old trick, a veteran spacefighter's trick that took the cool nerve of blasting your ship's nose forward into your enemy's ray, shielding your own eyes from its aft jets, until you were so close your nose almost covered his view screen. Then, risky, but it gained several precious seconds. Seconds in which to strike. Nord's jaw was a piece of sculptured white rock against which the sagging muscles of his face drew themselves taut. His eyes, they had to open. He had to see. Cadine would use the seconds. Holber's eyelids came up slowly, and he lifted his head, suddenly several times its weight, toward the view screen. The cabin swam before him, a confusion of gray and black shadows. He had an impression of a distorted blotch beside him, and he heard Mike cursing madly. "Can't see, Nord! Can't get my eyes open!" "Hold on, Mike!" The blacker shadow beside him lurched, and he heard his partner stumble back to a sitting position. Then his eyes were focusing again, painfully, on a blurred patch of black, dotted with painful pinpoints of brilliant blue-white on the screen. The black began to thicken, harden about the stars. It was torn to shreds by a fiery nova. Cadine's heat ray was eating into the stern of the patrol ship. Behind the black nightmare that settled again over his tortured eyeballs, swift reactions prodded at Nord's muscles. His long fingers found the drive levers and held tight as they sent the ship off at a dizzying, twisting tangent to her course. In his helmet, the valve clicked shut as outside pressure fell. Air was rushing out through a gaping hole in the hull, but the ship responded perfectly to the controls. "He didn't do any real damage," Nord gritted. "Not yet." Again he forced his eyelids up, and the screens swam before him in a red haze. "Cadine's down below us!" his partner cried angrily. "He's running for the belt! Saving those papers is worth more to him than our hides!" Without a word, his eyes bloodshot and terrible, Nord hurled the patrol ship downward after the outlaw. "We're pretty close to the asteroids," Mike warned mechanically. "Fragments may be pretty thick." His big mouth spread into a sudden grin. "Blast the fragments! We're after them anyway! If a couple come through the hull, that's a couple we won't have to fish for!" He moved his big hands over the heat ray controls eagerly. "Cadine will have to slow down some before he cuts into that belt," Holber reasoned aloud. "Get your beam on his stern jet tubes, just behind the nozzles. You'll have a better chance than trying to melt his hull again. The tubes are heat-resistant, but they're plenty hot, and jet tubes have been rayed out before this." The other nodded. "It's an old trick, as old as the one he pulled on us. Hey, look, he's leveling off." They were gaining rapidly as the black craft below lost speed. It lurched suddenly, portraying the amazement of the pyro within as the ray flashed in the screen. "You found him again, Mike," Nord exulted grimly. "Right across the tubes. He can't run, for those tubes won't last seconds." Cadine's fighter dogged frantically in a brief, vain effort to shake the beam which followed every twist. Abruptly, the dark ship swerved off course. "There goes one tube!" Darren shouted jubilantly. "He'll have to cut down his drive now to trim the jets." The outlaw ship swung slowly in a climbing turn, and Cadine was sweeping black space with his fiery beam as he came. Like fencing foils, the two dazzling pencils of light crossed and recrossed, slashing and stabbing for the ships. But it was the duel of a slower, heavily armored adversary against a faster, unprotected opponent, for Cadine's metal hull would stand long seconds of heat, and a touch of his own stopped-down beam could bore into the vitals of the plastic patrol ship at a touch. "What's he up to?" growled Mike Doran. Once again, he had the other ship glowing dangerously red. Still, Kadeen came on. Nord's throbbing eyes were slitted almost shut. The other wouldn't get away with the same trick twice. As the ship loomed almost upon them, Nord laughed harshly, touched his own retarding jets briefly. Let the outlaw, only then he realized, suddenly, too late. Desperately, he threw the drive lever as the glowing nose of the other ship smashed into their lower hull. The universe spun around him. He saw the stars streak across the view screens, and the floor beneath his feet bulge upward under the terrible impact, even as the last surge of her jets wrenched the patrol ship free, sent her staggering drunkenly upward. He gripped the control panel with long fingers whose steel clutch almost lifted him from the seat, and the gray eyes in his white face were bloodshot and wild. Beside him, Mike's rasping breath deepened into a groan. "Our heat ray's out! That devil—" Nord laughed. Their ship swung smoothly enough under its drive as his hands shot over the levers. Of all the intricate wiring beneath them, only the ray circuit had been broken, but the bottom of their fighter had been torn open under the nose. In the lower screen, he saw the asteroid fragments they'd stowed away below, floating in space, bumping lightly against Kadeen's steel hull as the black ship turned back. Steel hull? Asteroid fragments! In his brain, the words rushed together into sudden, strange meaning with the thought of the heat ray. Nord laughed again, throwing his body far across the seat to press the two studs before the astounding Mike. "Mike, maybe we don't need a ray." "I don't get it," his partner gasped. Behind and below them, the little bay opened in the still undamaged section of their hull. The electromagnet shot downward under its tiny automatic jets, and the winch paid out the cable. "Sunspot," the dazed Mike whispered mechanically. The magnet had struck Kadeen's ship and clung, the cable falling slack below as the winch continued to turn. "But what good does it do us, Nord? He can't drag us into the belt with him, or Mass will throw off its trick drive correction." "Right. Kadeen will have to finish us first. He can't ray that cable off." His partner nodded glumly. "Here he comes, and we can't touch him." Nordholber laughed again. "That's what he thinks, Mike. There's high-frequency current in that cable." He shot their battered fighter aside, to port, as the fiery beam flashed upward. The slack cable passed under and over the pirate ship. Nord sent the patrol vessel down, then to starboard and up again, as Kadeen's fiery pencil of destruction whipped toward them. "He doesn't suspect a thing," Holber said tensely. "Looks like fancy dodging we're doing, but look at the cable, partner. Couple more times around." The plastic ship was weaving an intricate course, dodging yet feinting downward, only to dance upward and away, and the insulated cable was wound loosely around the enemy craft. "Okay, Mike," Nord said at last. "Reverse that winch and pull the cable out." Doran, understanding breaking at last into his flaming blue eyes, pressed the stud and stared into the lower screen. "A high-frequency current," he whispered, "flowing through a coil around a metal core. Kadeen's steel hull!" Within the metal hull of Dane Kadeen's spacer-induced electrical current lashed a torrent of irresistible energy against sluggish electromagnetic potentialities. Resistance of the steel produced heat more intense than Mike Doran's beam could create. Despite the bulk of the outlaw ship within those few turns of cable, the induced current surging through the steel drove the temperature higher, toward the melting point itself. And in the inner hull, it was the same. Rising temperature, heat radiating, warming the air within the cabin. "An induction furnace," said Nordholber quietly. "It must be pretty warm inside there now." Before him, the visiphone jangled suddenly. The screen glowed as he snapped it on. In it, the dark, hawk-like face of Dane Kadeen was a blurred, flickering, terror-white blob. His voice shouted hoarse, unintelligible words, rose almost to a shriek. Sweat drenched his clothes, poured from every pore of his skin, flashed dancing highlights on the screen. Nordholber's fist and arm gestured in unmistakable pantomime. "Jump!" "Shut the current off quick, Mike," he ordered, as the space-suited figure of Dane Kadeen leaped frantically through the port to the black ship below them. "The patrol will want everything that's in that ship." Mike Doran pressed the stud, and his big mouth spread in a contented smile as the others swung their fighter through space at top speed, uncoiling the cable. "When it cools down," Nord said, "we'll go aboard. After we give Kadeen and the papers to the Jovian nymph, we'll go back to base in his ship. I don't want to make the trip all the way in this space suit." His partner's eyes lit up. Okay, but when we get to Mars base, we'll ride our ship and drag that steel monstrosity in on a cable. After all, it's the last catch of asteroid fishing. And the biggest.
AI is transforming customer service. It's real and it works. And with Finn, we've built the #1 AI agent for customer service. We're seeing lots of cases where it's solving up to 90% of real queries for real businesses. This includes the real-world, complex stuff like issuing a refund or cancelling an order. And we also see it when Finn goes up against competitors. It's top of all the performance benchmarks, top of the G2 leaderboard, and if you're not happy, we'll refund you up to $1 million, which I think says it all. Check it out for yourself at Finn.ai.
The best gifts of the holidays make your loved ones glow, inside and out. This season, Osea's Undaria Algae Body Butter is a surefire hit for everyone on your list. It leaves your skin feeling soft, smooth, and deeply nourished, with scents of grapefruit, lime, and cypress, combined with the sweet notes of mango mandarin. Give the gift of confidence this holiday season with Osea. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code OSEAGLOW at OseaMalibu.com.
Auditory Anthology is curated and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at WeirdDarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. This week's story was Space Lane of No Return by George A. Whittington. It was originally published in Imagination Planet Stories in summer of 1946. Coming up on Tuesday, we'll have our spooky sci-fi series, Tales from the Blue Line. The next in our classic sci-fi series on Thursday will be The Cosmic Express by Jack Williamson. A famous adventure novelist and his bride convince a drunken friend to use an experimental teleportation device, the Cosmic Express, to send them to the primitive wild jungles of Venus to get back to nature. Because when does anything bad happen to a teleportation?
I had that dream again. My small business needs someone to fulfill orders, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning, careless fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Get 50% off your first job post at linkedin.com/Pandora offer. Terms and conditions apply. Streaming is changing the way we watch live sports. And your internet connection can be the difference between catching the game-winning touchdown as it happens or hearing about it from your neighbor's cheers. That's why Comcast is building the network of the future. Using cutting-edge AI and edge computing technology, we're bringing fans closer to the action in stunning high definition with ultra-low latency. It's not just fast, it's game-changing. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.